Welcome back. I'm playing Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, and I am going to have to go back through our Adepta Sororitas, also known as the Sisters of Battle, to go through this unit roster again, because after this last patch, they've totally reworked how all these units effectively function. They changed the buffs on pretty much every unit in the game. So I will go back through and update these units that have new abilities here. So the very first unit is the Canoness. She is our #1 HQ unit. Before, she used to be both buff, debuff, and damage dealer. And now she's more of a debuffer and battler, and the ability she used to have to give you a 10% damage reduction and 10% bonus HP to everybody within one square has now been switched over to the hospitaler, so now she's just kind of focusing on her own things. But first, before I continue on with these videos, if you're enjoying this, please give my channel a like and subscribe. Encourage me to post more content for you. So the Canoness, she costs 215 points, has 250 health, 2 action points because she is an HQ unit, so therefore she has double actions. She has 4 movement, 5 armor, 15 evasion. At her default 215, you get a Condemner bolt gun. It has 8 attacks, does 3 to 5 damage per shot with an armor piercing of 3, which was an increase, so now it actually does some damage. Before it was effectively just a slightly more powerful, weak-ass bolt pistol, and now at armor piercing 3 it can do a little bit of damage. It has an optimal range of 4, but it has a range of 1 to 8, so unlike the secondary weapon here, which you can upgrade, this does have a little more range to it. It has a decent enough accuracy at 85, but it falls off rapidly at 10 accuracy per tile. So what that means is if you were shooting something that was at 3 or 5 tiles, which would be 1 tile off of the optimum, the baseline accuracy would go to 75, and then the game starts taking into account things like evasion, armor, and obstacles that will then drop your accuracy further. Now, this weapon is immune to graze shots, which is nice, so if you do damage, it'll be a full attack, whereas usually grazes will drop the damage. I think after the patch, I think it's down to 75% of the original damage, so it's kind of nice that that's not happening. Now, if you wanted to spend 15 additional resources, which I'd only recommend doing if you have just a random 15 points that you need to spend, you can increase her to the plasma pistol. And now this, instead of having 8 attacks, has 3 attacks, but each attack does 22 to 30 with an armor piercing of 5. So this does allow her to actually do some pretty decent damage at range, but again, you really want to get her into the thick of things, because as we work on her abilities, you'll see that a lot of them are meant to be melee damage. But the big thing to know about the plasma pistol is it has almost no range, so it can only shoot from 1 to 3 tiles, has an optimal range of 2, has a baseline accuracy of 85, and the accuracy falls off 10 per tile, and then you can't shoot past range of 3, so it's like you're getting this weapon that can actually shoot and do pretty decent damage, but it has almost no range, so you got to get right in their face anyways to be able to actually be able to shoot with the plasma pistol, so it's required a little more setup than just sitting back and shooting somebody with the bolt gun. Most of the time, if you have leftover AP, instead of setting an overwatch with these kind of weapons, it usually makes more sense to use the abilities if you're able to. Now, the default weapon is the Power Sword. It has 1 attack. It does baseline damage to the unit it's hitting, doing 82 to 110 damage, but it will splash to 1 additional unit. So let's say you're fighting a squad of 5 units, you'll actually be doing damage to 2 out of the 5. And then the splash does 49 to 66 to 1 unit, has an armor piercing of 7. And then the Canoness is one of the few melee units in the game that has 100% accuracy, so she really should not be missing unless you're fighting something that has a bunch of evasion and she's been debuffed for some reason. Now, what most people will do is spend the additional 30 points to get her the Blessed Blade, because that makes her one of the best melee combatants in the game. And for the additional 30 points, you now get 2 attacks. Each attack to the base unit that it's attacking does 52 to 70, so that would be 104 to 140 damage to whatever she's hitting. And then if you're getting rear attacks, it's going to be even more. And then you also do splash damage, so you do splash to 2 additional units instead of the 1, and so you can do upwards of 40 to 56 damage of splash damage. And again, once you start getting your damage modifiers on her, that goes up as well. And then in addition to just having a more powerful weapon, having double attacks, she still retains her melee accuracy to 100%, but she does have immunity to grazes, not meaning attacks that come at her she's immune, but her weapon is immune to grazes. So if you hit, you're always going to pretty much be doing full damage unless you crit, in which case you'll do bonus damage. So again, if you're going to bring her out, you're usually going to want her to be a major damage dealer, and therefore spending 30 additional points is definitely the way to go in my opinion. Now, her abilities have been reworked here to, again, make her more of a better combatant. So she has Divine Deliverance. This lasts for 1 turn. You'll click this and it does take an action point, but in exchange for that action point, you now get +1 movement. So if you're having trouble, like let's say you've unloaded her from a rhino or a transport, but can't quite get into attack, instead of using up one of your action points to be able to move that extra square, you can just click this, use up that action point, and now you'll get that extra movement. You also get plus 20% momentum gains, which is nice because you want to get her to surge or empower as much as possible to try to increase her damage output. You'll get +1 in melee attack, so that's not the same as an action point. I wasn't quite sure how that works, but effectively what it is she'll swing her sword 3 times. So you'll get 3 attacks. So, you know, instead of doing 2 attacks, you'll get 3 attacks. Now, if you're attacking somebody that's weak, that's not as good of a option. Now you'll get those 2 additional splash, but once the base unit dies that you're attacking, that base damage will just be zeroed out because you're effectively attacking a unit that's already dead, so only the splash damage will go over. It's not like the base damage will shift to an additional model. However, if you're sitting there fighting something like a tank or something that's got a lot of HP or another HQ commander, then effectively you're doing 3 base damage attacks to that unit. And what's nice is then if you use the Hospitaller, who has this ability called Rites of Intercession, this will give you an extra action point. So now effectively when she attacks, she's doing 6 attacks, or 6 swings I should say, with her Blessed Blade instead of 4 if you use 2 action points. So that helps you splash and get additional kills, and that's pretty nice. Now there is a downside that you have -10 evasion when you use this, so it will make her a little bit more at risk of getting killed. So you want to make sure you're building up your momentum with all these kills, because the momentum gains for the Adepta Sororitas increase the evasion, so that'll help you counter it. Or if you have a rhino, you can pop the smoke, and that'll give you 15 evasion just for standing in the smoke, so that'll help counteract this ability here. Now the other thing is when you use it, it gives you 1 stack of Raising Faith. And what that does is each time this unit attacks and kills an enemy model, now it is a model, it's not a squad wipe, you'll get 1 Rising Faith stack. So if you use this, you get, you know, let's say 1 stack, you attack again, and you kill 3 models or 4 models. Let's do 4 just for, well, I guess it would probably be 3 with the splash, so let's just stay consistent. So, you know, 1 here, you'll get 3 here, now you're up to almost 4. So now every time you attack, you get a 12% crit chance. But let's say you gave yourself an extra action point with your Hospitaller here, you do another swing, and now you're going to accrue up to 5, and it does cap up to 5. It doesn't go above 5. And the reason for that is every time you get this to cap of 5, you have to decide, do you want to use your 15% crit chance for, because each stack will last for a total of 2 turns to help you accrue, or what most people are going to do is you're going to transition to this Faith and Fury ability. And what that does is it converts your 5 stacks of Raising Faith to now using the Faith and Fury ability, and that'll give her a plus 15% damage, and now she gets an extra action point. Now the important thing to know is once you trigger this Faith and Fury, you can't just go and kill another 5 units and trigger it again. It stops you on this turn, on the turn you convert, to not be able to get additional Raising Faith stacks. But by the time you've done this attack here, you got bonus AP from your Hospitaller here. chances are you're then going to get up enough momentum that you're going to be able to surge and then attack for another round. So again, if you've used this Divine Deliverance and there's a lot of very powerful units in front of you, well, all of a sudden you're just having this massive damage output. So it's not uncommon that if you have things set up correctly, she could potentially get up to 4 attacks a turn. And now you won't do that multiple turns in a row because your hospital era stuff will be on cooldown. But as you can see, this is how you can just make this lady totally pop off. Now, you instead, let's say you didn't want to attack, well, maybe you want to use the Word of Contempt instead. So what this does is any unit that's within 4 tiles, you can apply this to them, and it gives them a 50% accuracy debuff, so both melee and ranged units will be in trouble. You can give them -20 evasion, so then everybody that's attacking that unit you just debuffed can get damaged more. You've reduced that unit's movement by 50%, so that way they can't escape you. And you'll steal one of their action points. So I find that this works really well against super elite vehicles. So if you're fighting the Tau, like put this on the Riptide or, you know, Hammerheads, something like that, where you don't want them to be using their high power ability, and then you'll be able to counteract their hover mobility by reducing that and then allow you to finish them off the following turn. So that can be very powerful, and it becomes even more powerful when you empower it, and I'll show you what all these abilities do when they're empowered. Now, the other thing is, in the past, when she would get killed, she would double the momentum gains for every other unit you had on your roster for the rest of the match. That's not how this Honor Martyr's ability works anymore. So now what happens if any Adepta Sororitas dies within 5 tiles of this unit, then this unit and all adjacent allies next to her will end up getting 10 momentum per unit death, so that can allow you again to start stacking up even more momentum. Now, what I'm not sure about is, let's say you ticked off the Divine Deliverance and then people are dying. Theoretically, you should be getting an extra 2 momentum per death because of this Divine Deliverance, but I actually haven't tested that out to know that that works. But given that that's how momentum gains work on the rest of the game, you know, with having the, you know, Chalice and then the Lieutenants double or increasing momentum by 50%, or the Battle Line Doctrine using the Commissar giving you bonus 25% momentum, those things tend to stack on your battle line gains, so I would assume it would work the same for this. But that can be very powerful for all of a sudden you're buffing your guys with additional momentum to help you use empowered abilities and also increase their evasion, so that's nice. We talked about these 2 abilities already. She just has a straight up 15% damage resistance here with her Rosarius, so that's nice. And then the other thing with her is, let's say she starts to take shots, you know, as you give her a bunch of evasion here, she's getting more evasion as she's getting more kills because she's just popping off. Well, then people are going to start shooting at her or trying to get her into melee to get kills. And so if they're using units that don't do a lot of damage, well, every time on attack a unit attacks her, you'll trigger this Shield of Faith ability. Now, the thing to realize is it has to be regular attacks, so if you're using crack grenades or special abilities, that may not trigger the Shield of Faith, but when it's a weapon attack, it will. And so what this does is every weapon attack that she suffers per unit, so it's only going to be 1 per unit attack unless that unit attacks twice, you'll get a Shield of Faith. And what that does is it gives you plus 0.6 ranged and melee armor, and it lasts for 2 turns, and it can stack up to 3 times. So that means you're getting 1.8 armor for her. And then what you can end up doing is, after she survived those attacks, let's say you're getting close to being able to surge, well, then you can convert those 3 stacks into 30 momentum using the Divine Inspiration, because this will convert all of your stacked Shield of Faith into Divine Inspiration stacks, which give you plus 10 momentum per stack for 1 turn. Now, again, I'm going to try to play around with this today to see if the Divine Deliverance will also give you bonus momentum gains for the Divine Inspiration. Again, I'm thinking that it should, but I need to verify that, because there's been several matches online where I've been like, oh, I think I can sit there, and if this gives me extra momentum, then it'll let me surge and attack again, but if I'm wrong and it doesn't, then I just wasted her defensive abilities. So I'm going to play around with that here today. Now the big thing is, because she's become so much more powerful, they've kind of capped the cohesion, so you can't bring 2 of them out for at 2,000 point matchups anymore. There's only 1. But as you can see, with all these abilities, it gets to be real crazy. Because what you're going to want to do is, you know, make her a damage dealer. You're going to want to buff her with the Hospitaller. You can buff her further using your Sister Superior, because they have the Battle Sermon, which gives you another 15% damage increase using her abilities, and you can start giving her momentum stacks as well, in 15% bonus HP. So now you can start to see how you're getting her to pop off, because you're like 15% bonus damage, 30 momentum, and 15% bonus health. You then can give her another 10% bonus health using the Right's Intercession, and now you're giving her an additional additional action point. And then you can use the Hospitaller then to use the Medicus Ministorum, and now she'll get another 10% bonus HP and minus 10% damage. This lasts for 2 turns, and so with her Rosarius already here, now you're down to suffering only, or taking off 25% of the damage that are coming your way, and that's not taking into consideration that you can start getting Shields of Faith stacks, which will increase her armor, so then she can get up to 6.6 armor here. And then you end up using a Rhino, you pop some smoke, and now you're giving her, you know, 15 more evasion. And then the other thing you could do is you could sit back and you could have some Celestian Synchrosates, and if they can't quite get into combat, well, then use your Oath of Protection, and then this will allow you to swap points with your Canoness if you're worried they're about to get sniped, and that will help keep her alive, because as you can imagine, a lot of people are going to want to snipe her down given the sheer brick house that she is. She will mess up your shit for sure. And then the other thing you can do is you can then have your different HQ commander sitting back, and then you can end up giving her, you know, your tier 1 ability gives you increased crit chance, your second ability gives you +1 movement, so now all of a sudden you can get +2 movement if you're using this Divine Deliverance, or if you use the third ability, that's going to increase her damage and armor piercing. So now all of a sudden you're having this 9 armor piercing weapon getting, if you're assuming you use the Faith and Fury, getting over 60% increased damage, assuming you've buffed her with the Battle Sermon and her other abilities here. So you can just see how she can just go and just kill almost anything. And then with the 2 splash, that allows her to really wipe out squads too, and really get that Rising Faith stacks going. Because assuming you land your attacks, really if you use the Blessed Blade against 5 model squad, you should be killing usually anywhere from 4 to all 5, depending if you crit units, and so you can just do shit tons of damage here and then get an additional AP and get that going, and then the momentum gains are usually able to get going, so you can just see how she can just mess everybody up. So with that, I think we'll finally set up a skirmish match here to really test her out and show you some real-world experience here. So if I was going to be playing with her, here's an example of what I would do for like a force is, you know, I'd bring her out, I'd bring a Sister Superior, plus or minus if you want to do this. I'm doing it just to kind of show the buffs so you can see how to kind of optimize her. I usually would always go with 2 Hospitallers, so that way we can alternate the Medicus Ministorum and then Rites of Intercession to give them additional attacks. You can use the Synchrosaints to, again, help protect her if you're worried about her getting sniped. And then I'd usually bring a Rhino, but in this case I'm going to bring the Immolators out, so they're still a transport vehicle and they'll let me do damage. You typically don't want to leave her outside the vehicle. In the past you would usually do that because you'd want to use the old version of the Medicus Ministorum with her to start giving you a 2-turn buff, but now there's no reason to do that. So typically keeping her in some sort of transport until you can get her unloaded right in the face of your enemy and start buffing and doing damage is what most people will do, because the one downside to her is she can be sniped by very powerful single attack units, especially if she hasn't gotten all of her momentum gains going, because she can still get taken out pretty easily. But once you start stacking her evasion and her momentum, then she's incredibly hard to take out unless you're doing flank attacks. So instead of bringing the Rhino, I want to just play around with some of these Immolator variants here. since it is just against the AI. But if I was doing against human players that are going to be much more intelligent, I would use a rhino instead. But this will just help us clear the map a little bit quicker and kind of show off some of her abilities here. So this should be a good experience, and let's see what we can do. And then per the usual, I always will play a skirmish campaign against the AI using these units. I typically go to the Imperial Ruins just because it makes it fast map to do. Fast map to play, I should say. Otherwise I sound like an idiot. Let's do our tester. There we go. And we'll just kind of go in chronological order. So we'll go against the battle. The Blood Angels. And then for the Adepta Sororitas, they did rework how their momentum works. So if you're unfamiliar, so you get each unit can get up to 100 momentum, and you'll get that from taking damage because that's the ability, the faction ability. That's not usually how it works, but for the Adepta Sororitas, they do get momentum based on the damage they take. And then each time they get a stack of momentum, they'll get 0.2 critical hit chance per momentum. So at 100, that's a 20% base critical hit chance increase. And then they'll get a 0.2 evasion per momentum. So they get a maximum of 20% or 20 evasion. So at her baseline of being 15, you're now up to 35. You pop smoke, you're up to a 50% evasion. And now you can start to see why it can be really hard to drop her. Now, the best way to do it is to flank her if you don't have really good ranged sniper units. Or if you're a Tau, you can just use units that are buffed by the cadre to give you a 100% chance to hit. Then that's the easiest. They're probably the best at sniping the Canoness. Otherwise, you'll want to get behind her, flank her, and bypass her evasion and get some bonus damage against her. So let's get started on this matchup and see if we can do some heresy and take out some Blood Angels. Now, sometimes players that are newer are not familiar with this. So what this is this icon here, when you're deploying your forces, tells you who's going to be your commander. So the Canoness, because she's going to be in combat, she's usually a bad choice to make as your HQ commander. I usually make it a hospitaller because they're more likely to survive, but anybody that's an HQ, you can change who's your HQ just by clicking the skull at the start. Now let's say she gets killed. If the Canoness is still alive, the game defaults to selecting whoever costs the most points to make the commander once your original one is dead. But the big thing is you want to try to keep your commander alive for as long as possible, because as the game progresses, you'll be stacking command points, and so for us that's going to be increasing the buffs to our units. So it's definitely going to be important for us to try to maximize those gains. And we'll just kind of move these guys around here. So let's see, we'll have 2 into there, and then I'll keep 1 hospitaller in the back. Actually, what I should do is we'll do something like this. So we can do, because they have 6 transport, or 6 room for 6 models or 2 squads. So we'll do a Celestian Canoness, Sister Superior, Celestian, and then we'll just run with the hospitalers, I think is what we'll end up doing here. I think that's probably going to be our most effective options here. And then these guys can just run around from where they're at here. Yeah, I think that'll work. So there is a slight delay in loading, so if you're trying to maximize what you're doing, generally you'll want to alternate, because otherwise you have to wait for the animation to be done.
We seek his enemies.
Alright, we'll just send up a hospitaller on each side here, because nobody's gained any momentum, so it doesn't matter that they're losing it.
Prepare yourselves, sisters. The heretics scout us.
Alright, and we'll just move these guys up. Bring you up to here.
We serve. With haste.
Oh, we got some land speeders already up here. Looks like they both have heavy bolters. Let's see, I got a 45% chance to hit, so really not that great.
Who needs my aid? With haste.
Bring you up to here. Got a 55% chance to hit. Might as well, I guess. We'll just set you up on Overwatch. Now the big thing when you're setting up on Overwatch is it'll automatically default to the maximum range. So you just got to make sure you're going to be happy with that, or you have to manually select it, and then the fast key to do that is just to hit the O button.
We will purge them all.
And unfortunately you don't get to select who triggers the Overwatch, so as you can see there, instead of having the multi-melta get attacked by the land speeder, they ran the infantry up there to trigger it instead. And unfortunately they have some multi-meltas too. This is a little bit unfortunate. They're doing a very heavy mechanized build.
Who needs my aid?
Well, if I do this, you're not going to be able to heal these guys. So, given that's a multi-melta, let's just run you over here. And start attacking here. And then you can come over this way. And you can attack here. And so he's down.
Yes.
And that barely got us any momentum, unfortunately. So let's see, this is got the incendiary cannon, so that's going to be a problem. This one's got kind of the basic kit, so that's not as dangerous. So I think what I am going to do, let's see, this one has a heavy bolter as well. So let's just move you up to here and start focusing down the Invictor Warsuit. And I'd really like to get up to
Who needs my aid?
more momentum so I can end up buffing my guys a little bit more. But I don't know if that's really going to happen. I forgot I had the Celestians in here. We do have the Canoness, so I could easily kill that land speeder. Here, the heavy flamer. Well, let's just move you up, I guess.
With faith we serve.
And we'll get the Sister Superior here.
I will not fail. The Emperor's light burns bright.
And we can move you up to here, because it's not going to matter
There is no light but the
for
light of the
you
Emperor.
to not get buffed by the Sister Superior.
Standing by.
Whereas for you, I would launch you. So let's get you over to here.
I walk in his.
And then... you're gonna be a little short. But I think if I just move you to here, unload you here,
Faith guides my feet to walk the righteous path.
you can now flame these guys
The
down,
light of the Emperor.
pull you back, and then if we shoot this guy with our heavy bolter, we can start killing some of these assault marines. What probably would have been better...
Yes.
Man, I just cannot get you... I don't know if you really have great hit chances there.
We serve.
Well, let's move you up. Let's move you up. We'll move you to
We
here.
seek his enemies.
And then we'll get you to here.
My aid.
Give you extra action point. You can use the battle sermon to increase everybody's melee damage. And then you can start working on momentum gains for this guy. And now that's up.
I am his iron will.
And now the question is, do I want to start getting into a melee fight with this guy or not?
In every shadow I find heresy. In Catherine's footsteps.
Let's attack here. So good damage.
We serve.
And we'll let you just attack
We
here.
are his judgment.
And you dropped him.
What is your will?
And move you up one. Pull you back.
Yes.
Now I probably should have given the bonus attack, but I wasn't really thinking.
We are invincible in his light.
So, what I will do is I guess we're just going to get into a slugfest. Now the question is, I don't think you get Faith and Fury stacks from just regular attacks.
Fire and fury.
Well, let's have you shoot into here because you have a 76% chance of hitting it.
With faith we serve.
Bring you over to here. Let's start advancing you. You have an 80% chance to hit. Alright, that got you down to 56. Well, I suppose I can always just heal if I need to. So that would be 50. Well, let's do it, because maybe I can avoid taking some counterattacks here with your 3. So 1, 2, yep, 3. And then those guys don't blow up when they die. Now, we've only got 2 stacks because I killed 1 model. Now, what I'm curious to know...
With haste. For Catherine. For eternity.
Well, let's just buff you.
Go forth.
Get your bonus.
You are his
We'll
will
run you
made
up to
flesh.
here. Now, I could just attack here as well. And then that would get 3 kills, and that would get me up to 5 attacks. Yeah, so you're going to be just short
What is your will?
on attacking those guys. However, I think I have a solution. Let's move you up to here. We can flame these guys down. Now they've been taken out. I was originally thinking that I was going to use the 3 attack, but meaning that if I use this ability here, you sacrifice your movement and you can do 3 attacks on infantry. But I think with that, I should now easily be able to kill this land speeder. And that allowed me to get our momentum up. So now what I can do is I can empower this because it's a free action. Oh wait, no, I can't do that actually because I don't have 5 yet. I did not do that right. So I could surge and then we can get an extra set of attacks. I don't think, well, are they going to be able to kill you? I don't think they're going to. Maybe I actually want to keep your evasion up now that I think about that. So let's get you up to here.
So it will be.
We'll turn you there, turn you here so he doesn't jump behind you. We'll set you up on Overwatch, assuming those guys are going to come over and want to play. They may stay outside our range, but we'll find out. And then the following turn, we can start stacking some other buffs. If you want to take out those Celestians, I'm totally fine with that. That's what I didn't want to happen. Good. Alright, that's what I wanted to know, is if they counterattacked you, if that would give you 3 attacks, and they do not. So that's actually good for me to know. And then for this guy here, we can increase his damage, give you some increased momentum. You can flame, and this should be able to easily kill. Or not. I was thinking you were going to be able to easily kill that guy. That's a little disappointing. Well, let's get you over here. You're going to get 3 per kill. If I do this, then that will bring it up to 13. So let's just start bringing you around the flank. Like so. Now,
For Catherine, for eternity.
You're up to here.
We serve.
Alright, so what I want to do is use our tier 1 ability to increase our ranged accuracy and get us 10% crit chances. And the big thing is I want to be able to use it on our artillery piece here. So we'll do that. And now if I use this refrain, you have an 88% chance to attack here, 93% chance to attack here. I could take out those assault marines, but I don't know if I really need to. You're not really essentially locking a whole lot down. So maybe what I'll do is actually attack these intercessors, because if I start destroying the vehicles, that should be enough to get some kills with the explosions. So that's great. So now we've almost taken these guys down.
Yes.
Let's get you up to here. You can shoot these. And what I want is to get you up to here so you can heal. So let's get you to here. We'll now give her another AP. Pull you back. You can come up to here. And you can heal. And now we're up to full health. She's got 3 action points. Let's start dropping this Furioso Dreadnought down. Although, if I do... Wait, I still don't have enough. I'm not giving a good showing of this here. So maybe what I'll do is just charge here, because then he won't get a counterattack. Now, let's empower. And then if you're going to empower your abilities, this unit gains these abilities for 2 turns. So you'll get 1 movement, 1 additional attack. You'll get plus 30% momentum gains, minus 10 evasion, and it'll last for 2 turns. You'll still only get 1 raising faith. If you empower the Words of Contempt, you can now increase the area of range from 4 tiles to 6 tiles. You'll get minus 80% accuracy, minus 40 evasion, minus 75% movement points, and you'll have minus 1 action point for 2 turns. So now all of a sudden you can nullify a really powerful unit, like let's say this Predator, for 2 turns instead of 1, so then he can't attack for 2 turns, allowing you to easily get the kill. If you use the Faith and Fury, this will now make it last for 2 turns, and you'll have plus 40% damage, plus 1 action point, and it'll last for 2 turns. And if you end up empowering your Divine Inspiration, you'll now get plus 12 momentum per stack of your armor. So all that is very good, but again, you need to get this up to 5 stacks to be able to get that to go all the way. So definitely very interesting. So what I am going to do is I think we will surge to start with, so I can start accruing more momentum. So this should get me up to 4 action points. Let's see if it works out. Sometimes it bugs out if you stack too many. Nope, so that got us up to 4. So let's attack here. 1, 2. She got hit. But you can now attack again. That'll blow up. You're up to 4. You'll get 3 per kill if I go here. So let's do that. So those guys are dead. You've now got 5 stacks.
Yes.
I can move you to here. Now, I think what I'm going to do is just flame these guys down. Do that. Let's get you up to here. Let you attack here and start working on taking out the Predator. We'll get our Celestians over here to start flaming these guys down. Almost got the kill.
We are invincible in his light.
Well, we'll just bring another set of Celestians over here to finish them off then. And we can just attack with you. Okay. And then, if I bring you down to here, let's start increasing your damage. Now you got 2 action points. We'll attack here. 1, 2. And we'll go with a 3rd attack. You gained more. Now, I can use this to now get you to surge. And we can attack for another round. Like so. And we'll attack here.
My blade will mete out his mighty judgment.
And you got no more stacks, so now all of a sudden you can see she just about single-handedly killed everybody here. We're gonna pull you back.
So it shall be.
Pull you back.
With haste. Who needs my aid?
Get you to here. Smoke these guys. And then we can move you up to here. And I think this is going to be one of the situations where it actually makes sense to use Oath of Protection to help keep that Canoness alive.
Who tests my conviction? Fun and fury. We serve.
So now I think you can see some of the crazy powers that this Canoness can have. Why did that not protect her? I don't know why this isn't working. The HQ command unit, when they are attacked by melee or ranged, provide the HQ command unit within one tile. This unit will take all the damage intended. Damn, so I guess they must have broke this ability then with their patch, because now it's not working.
Yes.
That's really unfortunate. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Because that used to be a good way to keep everybody alive here.
Standing by.
Actually, I can probably just move you down to here. And you can probably just flame these guys down.
With the light of the Emperor.
Yep. And I guess you'll just flame here.
What shall we purge next?
Got an 85% chance to hit. Let's just have you shoot here. Perfect. And we'll have you start making your way over here. Start chopping these guys down. Oh, look at you. Still alive.
Who needs my aid?
7 health. Well, you can flame here, I guess. Oh! That's right, you're the multi-melta, not another flamer. Well, let's let you start getting some kills then. Alright, now what I didn't get to see is if this will increase the divine inspiration. Alright, let's pull you back. I gotta figure this out. Alright, everybody just look the other way so nobody activates any overwatches.
Ready for combat.
Same with you guys, look the other way. Ah, but I gotta get them to shoot you. Alright, let's face the
As
wrong
he
way.
wills it.
Because otherwise I'm not... Wait, no, I do have some armor here. Okay. Okay, do I still... I do have a shield. Okay, so I want to know. So I'm using this. That'll give me plus 20 momentum gains. Oh, I don't have any stacks. Damn it. I saw that symbol, so I thought it was there, but it's just always there. Bummer. Alright, well that is the Canoness. I will have to upload a video then to verify that that momentum actually gets buffed with her abilities. So I will have to do that right here. Okay, let's see if this stuff works here. So we'll empower, do this, it'll last 2 turns. So that should give me 30% momentum gains.
The Emperor's light fills
Alright.
our souls.
And then I will do this to get an extra action point and 15% additional damage. And I will attack here. 2, 3. Okay. And I think these things are all on cooldown yet.
There is no light but the light of the Emperor.
Alright. Now, I would like to just move you out of the way. Okay. Well, I guess everybody should die here, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. And now, this should usually be 20 momentum. But it should be 26 if I'm getting the buff from the divine ability. And I get 28. So yeah, it does stack. Alright. Excellent. So that answers that question. So that does stack your momentum gains. It's actually even higher than I thought it was going to be, because it should be 20. Yeah, interesting. But now it only lasts for 1 turn, so you want to make sure that when you're using that, that it stacks up appropriately for what you're trying to do. Otherwise you're going to lose it, so it's not going to stick around for multiple turns. But we did verify that that will stack, so that's excellent. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.